Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to Retold, a Harry Potter podcast. This is a show for Potter fans of all sorts to tune in and have fun living in the wizarding world just a little more. My name is Barry, and every week I sit down with a new guest host and we go through the Harry Potter books 2 chapters at a time. We also have some fun segments filled with trivia, lore, movie changes, and favorite lines. And at the very end of the episode, we have a spoiler section called the restricted section. Ooh. This week, I'll be sitting down with a very special guest, John, from the podcast First Time Readers. I had so much fun recording this episode. This is definitely our longest episode to date, and it is for a very good reason, because John may actually love Harry Potter more than I do. Like, it's crazy. I loved getting to hear how happy he was just to discuss this subject. It made me not feel so different. I think I say that near the end of the episode, but it was so much fun doing this with him. And he knows so much about Harry Potter and the wizarding world that I'm glad that you're going to be able to hear him. And we'll be discussing, just so you know, chapters 15 and 16 of book 1, The Forbidden Forest and Through the Trap Door. Also, please check out his podcast, First Time Readers. We'll explain it a little bit during the episode, but real quick here, it's a podcast where he takes his friends through the Harry Potter series for the first time, and now they've moved on to Lord of the Rings. And so if you're a fantasy nerd and love that kind of stuff, check it out. He also has a really good YouTube channel called First Time Readers, and it's full of really cool videos where he documents his thoughts on Lord of the Rings. I'll leave a link for all those in the description. Anyway, please rate and review the show if you can. That helps me out a lot, and share it with any of your Potter friends. And feel free to reach out to me if you want. You can send me a comment, owl post, or howler by emailing me at theretoldpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send me a message on Instagram at theretoldpodcast. Anyway, let's get to the episode.
I know Hufflepuff.
I don't care how big they are! Can we find all this in London?
If you know where to go.
Not that you need it, eh, Potter?
Wingardium Leviosa. Wicked.
Last word is Caput Draconis.
This is light.
Thought you ought to know.
Welcome back, everybody, to Retold, and I'm here with our new guest today. It's John from the First Time Readers. I am so excited to have John be on this episode. I've listened to his Harry Potter podcast I have many hours spent on this, and it's really exciting for me to have you on, John. I see your dog in the background. Hi, dog. Yeah. But John, introduce yourself to the people.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. I appreciate it. So I am John. I became obsessed with Harry Potter pretty early on in my life. But I went through like phases where I didn't read it, and then all of a sudden I started reading it a ton more. And then I had 2 of my friends who I was begging to get to read Harry Potter for like years. They finally broke down and wanted to read it, and then I recorded a podcast with them called Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. And yeah, I live in right outside of New York City. I got a dog who's just chilling in the corner right there. And I'm a big Harry Potter nerd, big Lord of the Rings nerd, big Star Wars nerd. I love all the nerd stuff.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. Well, John, I'm so excited to have you on today. Like I said, you're the first like legitimate podcaster we really had on. So this is really cool, for nice treat for the listeners, you know?
I love it, yeah.
But yeah, so just as we're hopping in, what I do with every single guest is I ask them their fandom ID, this concept I get from MuggleCast podcast, which is, what is your house, your Hogwarts house? What's your favorite book, your favorite movie, and how did you get into Harry Potter?
Yeah. I am a very, very proud Hufflepuff.
Heck yeah, same. I even got,
too?
You can't see it. I'm gonna pick it up right now. I got my Hufflepuff blanket from the exhibit, when the traveling exhibit, when it was going around.
Beat that. I love that. That's incredible. I became a Hufflepuff really early on. Realized that I was a Hufflepuff. Took all the quizzes, all got Hufflepuff. I mean, like, the books neglect Hufflepuff, and you're never really that proud of it. But later on, when I read more about Hufflepuff, I became very proud of it. I am like the biggest Hufflepuff spokesperson. I think they're the greatest house, and I will say that till the day that I die. I think they're great.
They got their own play. The Puffs play.
Exactly, which is fantastic. I watched it for the first time last year, and it was one of my favorite bits of Harry Potter lore. It was so good.
Did you have you played Hogwarts Legacy?
Yeah.
Obviously you played as a Hufflepuff?
Yeah.
I also do streaming on Twitch.
Nice.
And I played the whole game by myself. I didn't start streaming until a few months ago.
Okay.
And I played the whole game by myself when it came out. And I wanted to do a replay on Twitch because I have a bunch of Harry Potter fans that watch me play.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to do a Hufflepuff again because I refuse. Like the first impression that these people get of me need to be as me as a Hufflepuff. Yeah. So rather than try any other playthrough.
That is the most Hufflepuff move I've ever seen in my life, where you're so loyal to Hufflepuff, you won't even play Hogwarts Legacy without playing as a Hufflepuff. That is perfect.
I would have done it if it was just me, but since other people were watching, I was they have to see me as a Hufflepuff.
You got to send me your Twitch before or after this. I want to check it out.
I will. Lovely. And so you're an amazing Hufflepuff, and
proud Hufflepuff. Favorite?
Yeah.
Favorite book. I have like 10 different lists of favorite books, but currently at this last read that I had, I think my favorite book was the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And typically that's not always my answer, but the 7th this time just felt it felt right. Like everything was kind of leading to it with the group that I was reading, and I just picked up so many things that I thought were interesting. Really, like. It's weird because it's not cliche to say this anymore, but like Harry became my favorite character in that read, which is like weird to say because usually he's not people's favorite character, or he's so obvious.
Spoiler: he's my favorite. He's my favorite by a mile.
I love that. He really is. I mean, like it's just boring. He's like the main character of the book, obviously, but that book I was so astounded with his character development and just how compassionate of a person he was. How he was. Like, it was so good. Loved him so much. So that book really made it shine for me for like loving Harry and loving everything that's going on in his life there.
Yeah, that makes me think of like on the Potterless podcast when he's like, I didn't really even like Harry that much until the 7th one. Then I was like, okay, he's a great guy.
yeah, seriously, yeah. And that's kind of where I fell in love with him. I've always loved him, always admired him, but that book like reaffirmed it. So on this current read, that's probably my favorite. Favorite movie is a really controversial one. I think this is the worst adaptation, but I think the 6th movie is my favorite movie.
Okay.
So there's a few things in that I love. I think they leave out, I think it's the worst adaptation and it crushes my heart that they left out so much in there. But I think it does a few things well. I think the first thing it does really well is it captures the difference between the seriousness and like the silliness of these teens just want to live and have fun and make out and play Quidditch and just like live a good life versus the crazy serious stuff of like the cave, the Horcruxes. I think it does a really good job of going between those two things. And then I also love 2 scenes that the movie has, which is the cave scene, which I thought they did really, really well. They left out a few small details in it, which kind of bothered me. But I love that scene. And then my favorite scene of all time in any of the movies is the Francis the Fish story. It's a small little one.
Yes,
but I
amazing.
think that gives such good character to Lily. It's my, I cannot get enough of that. I love it so much.
It's the best addition I think the movie's ever made to the canon. Love
Fully
that.
Agreed.
I 100% agree that it's probably the worst adaptation, but I'm a huge fan of like enjoyment factor and rewatchability.
Yeah.
And I think that movie is like top 2 in rewatchability in the series of just throw it on, play it and do it. It's funny because like I think my favorite is the 4th movie, and I think that also has a bunch of rewatchability to it.
Yeah. But it's not a great adaptation either.
No, it's not. Like a lot is left out, but I also think that it's funny that to me those are the 2 most rewatchable ones, yet they both like and for me, one of the biggest factors for rewatchability is like joy and lightheartedness, which those both have in spades. But the ending of both of those is very heart-wrenching, very dark.
Yeah.
But
another one of my favorites in the 4th is when Cedric's dad, Amos Diggory, is like crying over his son. I'm like, that's one of the most emotional scenes in the entire series. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, like and it's a little overshadowed because like right before he screams, I think it's one of Harry's best acting moments when he's just like no, and he's wanting to get So, and then my boy, amazing. But fantastic. And how did you kind of said a little bit earlier, but how did you get into Harry Potter?
I remember when I was young, it was just like all the blaze. It was all the buzz. The first time I heard about the series, I remember I was at soccer practice, and there was this one kid who I didn't peg as a reader. Like, he wasn't like that into literature or reading or anything like that. He just came up and he started talking to me and my friend about it. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like a new series, and didn't really read it, didn't really get into it. In some of my circles, it was like, a taboo book. It wasn't something that you read or like, you entertain at all. And then I remember when I was in 10th grade, I was like, well, I'm going to pick this up and read it. And by that time, I think it was the 4th book had just come out. So I remember reading the first one and being like, wow, this is an amazing series. Reading the second one, reading the third one, reading the 4th one, probably within like a month. And I remember as soon as I finished the 4th one, I was devastated because I was like, what am I going to do with my life now? I was so bummed, but I still will say this, and I say this all the time on my podcast, but I miss those moments so much of, I had nothing else that I could go on. So I was like scouring the internet, looking for theories. I still remember in between books, like people talking about what they thought was going to happen. It was like an experience like no other. And I really, really miss that. And I love to recreate that. So that's when I just had to sit and wait for each book to come out. And then I remember I got the 5th one, got the 6th one. I remember the 7th one when it came out. I went like in the dead of the morning to grab that book. But yeah, I just kind of slowly fell in love with the series then. And then I finished it and I was like, oh, this is a good series. I love it. And then I think I reread it like, 5 years later and was like, oh, this is really good again. And then like another year or so after that, then I really started like reading it, listening to it all the time. It was like in my car, or I always had a book on me and I was just like scouring it. And so I probably read it or listened to it like, 15, 16 times. And it's just one of those series that I always go back to. I love it so much.
Yeah, I think Audible is one of the big reasons I love this series. Just because, I just throw it on whenever, and it's like listening to music. I just listen to Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love something you said earlier made me think of it. But I love in the trailer for your podcast, First Time Readers, when you say, if I could have any superpower, it'd be to reread a book for the first time.
Yes.
Or have that experience again. And I think that's one reason why these types of podcasts and reaction videos are so popular, because people just want to relive it again. So, or at least see it through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah. I'm so jealous of people who get to experience those things, which is why I started this whole thing, because I want to vicariously live through people who experience that for the first time.
Yeah. Same here. So here's what we're going to do now. We've got to know you now. We're all best friends with John. And so he's talked about what a immense Harry Potter fan he is. We're going to put it to the test. It's time for our Quizzitch section. It's always hard to say. So John, here's what I'm going to do. I just started doing this. Again, I've told my listeners, I'm obviously the most knowledgeable person in the world when it comes to Harry Potter. There's no question about it. The way it kind of has worked is I will I'm keeping track who's getting more correct answers, me or my guests.
Okay.
And
I love that.
And at the end of each season, when we finish each book, we'll see who won, me or the guests. And since the guests represent the world, it's me versus the world.
I love this.
So at the moment, I think I'm only up by 1 or 2. I forget exactly which. So
okay. I'm a little nervous now. Sheesh.
Don't be. It's all a ruse. You ever seen have you seen the Hobbit movies?
Yeah.
One of my favorite bits is when Thorin's like, "'Tis a ruse. One of them is false."
Yeah.
But I'm upping the ante for myself. If I get a question wrong, I'm going to eat a Birdie Bot every flavored bean. I have them right here. So here we go. So how about you go? I have 4 questions just in case, to gauge similarity to yours. So we'll see. So you go first.
So I have one that's chapter specific and one that's not. I think you're going to get this chapter specific one very, very quickly because this is a really simple question, but it's like kind of niche, not like crazy niche. But they had to do something in their Transfiguration final. What was that task that they had to do?
They had to turn a snuff box into a mouse. It wasn't a mouse, was it? What was it?
Hold on. I'm rethinking myself now. Hold on 1 second.
I remember it said snuff box, and I was like, I don't know what a snuff box is. Is that like a matchbox?
I think I actually wrote this one down wrong. Yeah. You're right. So I just had a rat rather than a mouse, but I think I wrote that down wrong. I'm looking it up right now. It's a mouse. Mice to snuff boxes.
Let's
Nicely
go.
Nicely done. That was insane.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
All right. All right. Let's see. What planet was bright that night?
Mars.
Mars is bright tonight. That's one of my favorite
That's a
scenes.
good one. Yeah,
Just
I know.
everybody. Mars is bright. We've heard.
I know. I love that. Like
Okay.
the bringer of death, bright tonight.
Yeah.
Into that. I love that.
All right. You got holding it
hold on.
down.
I have like a list of trivia questions here, but
Okay.
I want to find a hard one for you because I feel like after that one,
That's
I think you're
okay.
gonna know.
I got 4. So if you want to do more than 2, we can do more than 2.
Yeah, I like this. All right, give me 1 second because I just pulled.
No
up something.
problem.
Cut all this. Yeah. All right, here we go. Pulling this up.
I secretly just have the book open on the thing.
You're looking up facts as fast as you can.
Like, yeah, sure. I know what it is.
Let's do all 4 of them because I have other trivia questions I like. So here's my second one.
Okay.
What is the school motto, and what does it translate to?
Okay, I know what it translates to.
Okay.
Which I'm trying to remember the Latin for it, but I know it's never tickle a sleeping dragon.
Yes, well done. Okay, love that.
And it's like Draco Nidalandis, like, or Nunqua.
You're close, yeah.
Draco Nunqua Titilandis. Like I can't remember the 4th one, but I know those 3.
That's impressive. It's Draco Adormians non-quam Titilandis.
Dormian, because that's sleep. Yeah.
That's impressive. You got your Latin knowledge too. I love it.
All right. So I got that one wrong.
No. I think you got that one right. That's a clear right one.
Okay. What did the note on the invisibility cloak say when it was returned to Harry?
Oh, I know this one. Because I was thinking of the first note, which wasn't the same note when it was returned to him.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one's your father left this in my possession.
Yeah. And then this time around, it's all folded up on his sheets.
It's not. Nice, it's like something note. like it's not for safekeeping. It's like
a similar kind of phrase, though.
Yeah, it's like that. It's that phrase. I could see it. It is. Oh, this is gonna drive me crazy. As soon as you say it, I'm gonna get furious.
3 words.
It's not like just in case. That's my answer, but I don't think it's that.
Just in case is correct.
Oh, it is. Let's go. I pulled that out of the depths of my brain somewhere. I love that.
That's right. Very good. Okay.
I love that.
What you got?
All right. Here. All right. Let's find another good one. Okay. Here's one. This is my ultimate favorite character.
Okay.
Neville Longbottom.
I was about to say, do I just have to guess what your ultimate favorite?
Yeah.
Like when freaking.
What do I have in my pocket?
Yeah, I was about to say. It's not fair.
What is Neville's Patronus?
Wow. Neville's Patronus. I have no idea, so I'm going to try to take a guess.
Okay.
I'm going to say his Patronus is.
Hold on. Before you take a guess, I'll give you a small hint. This is
okay.
Kind of. The small hint is going to be an obvious hint. It's not like anybody else's in the book. That's the hint. It's more maybe abstract.
Is it mentioned in this book?
This is extra canonic.
It's extra.
She wrote this after.
Okay. I'm going to say, if it's not like anybody else's, I don't remember anybody having. Oh, is it a toad?
Mm-mm. Oh, that'd be great if it was a toad.
All right, that's all I can think of.
It is a non-corporeal Patronus. He cannot produce a shape for his Patronus because he does not have enough happy memories or confidence to be able to produce a fully formed Patronus.
I hope that changes.
I know.
That's got to change
Yeah,
especially after the 7th book.
I know, seriously.
All right. And then what score did Hermione get on on Flitwick's test?
112.
Heck yeah. There you go.
I love that.
Okay. Oh, wait. I didn't eat a bean. I got to eat a bean. I got it wrong.
Gosh, good luck.
Okay. It's a red one. So that might be okay.
All right. Hopefully that's cherry or strawberry.
It's cinnamon.
That's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not the most enjoyable.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's not bad.
I did on New Year's Eve. Every New Year's Eve with my friends, I play like a giant 30-round game of Mario Party.
I love
and
that.
I did it on stream this year for the first time.
Nice.
And I had my wife here and a friend of mine here, and we were playing live with somebody. And every time we lost a mini game, somebody had to eat one of these.
Ooh, that's a great consequence. I love that.
It was, but what was crazy was like everybody kept getting good ones. Like maybe it happened 3 or 4 times in a 25-round game that somebody got a bad run. It was crazy. And the girl on the other end, she hates pickles, and she had a bunch of pickles laid out. And every time she lost, like it was guaranteed she's getting bad. She just eat a pickle. But
that's so great. I love that.
Anyway, your question.
All right. Here's another one. This is uber niche. This is like, hold on. Here's another sub question for this. You want me to ask a question about, this one is about her writing process. Do you want that, or do you want a part of the book?
I'll give me a part of the book because I won't know anything. You can tell me what the writing process is, though.
So this one's kind of cool. So she had one that the Goblet of Fire, it was titled something else, but she changed this about 12
I know what
days.
that is. It was it was the Doom Spell tournament.
Yeah, nice. There was like promotional material that was printed about it and everything.
And they were like, heck no, get that out of here. You were onto something with changing it to Sorcerer's Stone. Not this one.
Yeah, this one's a dumb one. Okay, so there is one person in the books who is paralyzed more than any other character in the entire series. Who is this character?
More than anybody else.
So Petrificus Totalis. And it's not Neville. That's your hint.
Is it Harry?
Mm-mm.
Okay, let me do one more.
Yeah. They're hit 4 times with this.
4 times?
Mm-hmm. And they're a Death Eater.
They're a Death Eater. Is it Malfoy?
Mm.
Lucius?
Nope. Anton Dolohov.
Anton Dolohov. Okay.
Weird,
I mean, it makes, I can think of it like in the 5th book it happens.
Yeah,
for sure.
Weirdly, he pretty much exclusively gets paralyzed. He doesn't get stunned ever. He gets paralyzed.
I feel like it's probably like in the 4th book, maybe Harry hits him in the graveyard. In the 5th one, during the battle at the Ministry.
Yeah.
I definitely remember him being laid out flat in the 6th one at the when they raid Hogwarts.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, because people, they make note of that a lot. They're like, they stepped over some Death Eater.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then probably, obviously,
At the 7th.
There's many times it could happen in the 7th one.
Yeah.
But, all right. I got to eat one more. And then we'll give you your last one.
All right.
You know what? I'll make it. This one looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
What is?
Hopefully you don't get vomit. That's my least favorite
No,
one.
this is definitely Tutti Frutti.
Ooh, that's not bad.
I'm not going to eat Tutti Frutti. How about, all right. No look. Oh, frick. That's salt and pepper for sure.
Yeah, it's pepper.
Or pepper, I mean. Oh. So I also do it. I hate this. Disgusting. I also do this when I play a Harry Potter game on Twitch by myself.
Yeah.
Anytime I die, I'll eat one of these.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
And it 9 out of 10 times it's pepper. So I'm used to it, but I still hate it.
Yeah, it's a gross one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, your last one. I feel like, man, I should have come up with harder ones for you, but what piece did Harry play as during the chess match?
Harry was Harry the Queenside Castle? Or was he I'm going to guess Queenside Castle, but he might have been a bishop.
He was the bishop. Hermione was the Queenside Castle.
Dang it.
I mean, hey, still great get. You almost got it right, pretty much. So, and I'm hoping I'm like in my head, I'm thinking he did that to make me feel better. But
no, that was genuine. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that it's either tied or I have a 1-point lead. I don't know which it is.
This. I'm
So
excited to keep track of this.
I know I
podcast and
have
see how you
one
do.
more chapter next week to do, and
All
so
right.
and then I'll do like a little recap episode. But
Nice.
yeah, so all right. Hello, everybody. Just hopping in to let you know the score and to tell you your Quizzitch question for the week. The score, as it currently stands, is 19-19. John and I each got 3 questions correct there. Now, if you were listening carefully, you may have noticed that he technically asked me a 4th question, and I took it. I've extended grace to a lot of other guests here. I was up against a pro. All right. I took a little bit more. And so I think it's more than fair that I get an extra question this week. Anyway, so it's 19-19. Coming down to the wire. We'll see what happens in the last episode. Anyway, last week, your Quizzitch question was what was the name of the book that Hagrid was looking at in the library? And the answer to that question was From Egg to Inferno. And also, I asked you a second question last week, which was, how long did the Quidditch match against Hufflepuff last? And the answer to that question was barely 5 minutes. So there you go. Those are your answers from last week. Hope you got it right. And if you didn't, better luck next time. Next time being right now. Your question for this week is, what was the first piece that moved in the chess match when they're playing Wizard's chess? Which piece moved first? And for bonus points, what move did it make? So that's your question. As I said earlier, you can email me your answers at theretoldpodcast@gmail.com, or you can message me on Instagram at theretoldpodcast. Anyway, back to the show. Fantastic. Well, without further ado, we're going to hop on in. Listeners, what we're going to do now is we're going to go through chapter 15. And at the end of our chapter, we will talk about our favorite lines from the chapter. We'll talk about some transfiguration moments which is highlighting the changes that the movie made from the books. And then we'll get into our golden snitch section, deep lore tidbits and things like that. We'll do it again for the next chapter, chapter 16. And then to cap it all off, we'll get into our restricted section, talk about spoiler things. Don't go in there unless you want to die a most painful death.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, here we go. Chapter 15, The Forbidden Forest. Just some overall thoughts opening up real quick. I loved Neville being in this chapter. I love his inclusion in this. As somebody who my introduction to the world of Harry Potter was the movie. I didn't read the first book before I saw the first movie. I was glad to see more of Neville in this, see him play a bigger part. And I'm happy that keeps happening more in the books.
Yeah,
although
he's my favorite, so
it's just absolutely wild that this is their punishment for breaking the rules. You got to go break more rules, basically.
I will say this to the day that I die. This is the most Hogwarts is the most absurd place I've ever known about in fantasy lore in my life. That this is their punishment, and like it's not even just that they're going into the Forbidden Forest. They're going to see something that Hagrid has never seen before in his life, and they're going to go check this out.
Something that can kill a unicorn. It's like what?
That is absurd.
And the absurdities grow.
Yes.
So we're going to hop on in. So there they were, Harry and Hermione caught in what may be the dumbest moment in their Hogwarts careers. Top 10 for sure, leaving the invisibility cloak on the top of the tower.
Me.
Filch had caught them after they had forsaken the invisibility cloak, and he takes them to Professor McGonagall's office, and poor Hermione is shaking. And it's a really sad line where it says, she can't even answer a teacher for the first time when McGonagall does show up. Harry can't think of any excuses. And I like this. Harry thinks things can't get any worse. Well, be more optimistic, Harry. Of course it can get worse. Because just then McGonagall shows up, and she has Neville with her. And Neville's like, bros, I was trying to warn y'all. Malfoy was going to snitch on you, and I had to come find you. He said you had a drag. And Harry's like, shut up, Neville.
You need to translate this into the Alabama version of Harry Potter.
Y'all. That's funny.
Can you believe this?
Y'all, that's crazy. I had most of my viewers on Twitch are like not from America.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll just like throw in, because I feel like I don't have a Southern accent. I don't know. Maybe I do. But I'll throw in little slang things like that sometimes.
I love it.
There's a podcast I listen to called Streaming Things. And when they went through the Harry Potter series, they just review movies. Nice. And they do this type of thing for movies. when they reviewed the Harry Potter series, for some reason, they talk like this for the Dementors. This was the Dementor voice. And a bunch of my listeners thought, or watchers thought that that's how I talked. I was like, no, guys, it's just a fake voice. But no, so Neville's like, bros, I was going to warn y'all. Malfoy said you had a drag, and Harry's like, shut up, Neville. McGonagall is super disappointed and tells them to explain themselves. Oh, this was the part where Hermione can't even answer her. And just when it seems like they're done for, this was so funny to me. McGonagall herself bails them out. Yeah, like, I can't think of any excuse. And McGonagall's like, I know exactly what it was.
Yep.
Y'all were just lying about this whole thing. All right. You just lied to get Draco into trouble. And I bet you think it's funny that Neville fell for it too. And that's a really sad moment.
That is a terribly sad moment. Here's a side question. Do you think McGonagall legitimately did bail them out? Or do you think that she was, do you think that she was kind of fooled?
I think she was fooled. I do. I just based on kind of what's I feel like if she was bailing them out, something more would have been said.
Yeah.
You know,
I like that.
What do you think?
Like, there would have been some kind of gleam in her eye or a glitch in her eye. I kind of think she was fooled, but it's a little annoying because I feel like she's too smart to be fooled.
She should not have been fooled.
Yeah,
but I think maybe she was just so pissed off at this moment.
She just got out of bed. I'd be so mad.
So yeah, really sad moment when Harry's like, it says he's trying to catch his eye to tell him, but Neville just sad boy over there.
I know it's.
McGonagall says, can't believe y'all never heard of anything like this. And I when I heard that, I thought, really, McGonagall? You've never heard of anything like
that's crazy.
Some of the students you've had before, restricted section talk, but still. You've been doing this a long time. Anyway, John, get this. She gets so ticked off that she takes 50 points from Gryffindor.
Dude. Don't get me started about the point system at Hogwarts.
I know. I wrote down, honestly, overkill troll. Because I was like, the comparison between taking down a troll and saving the student body versus sneaking out late is like pulling a prank. It's like, you just lost 150 points. That's worth a whole Quidditch match. That's crazy.
You got to take down, what would that be? 15 trolls in order to make up the difference.
Well, I'm on it. All right. She sends them back to bed, and Harry can't sleep at all, especially not with Neville crying like a little baby over there. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
I do like this paragraph about when the other Gryffindors found out about what happened. And said that next morning, at first, Gryffindors passing the giant hourglasses that recorded the house points the next day thought there had been a mistake. How could they suddenly have 150 points fewer than yesterday? And then it just goes on to say, like, what happened. But I love them, like, all the older students, the upperclassmen walking by, just happy as can be, like, we're finally beating Slytherin. Walks past, what was that? We're losing. How? And I was curious, something it doesn't highlight is what place they're now in, actually. Because I was wondering if they dropped into last place or if they were in third or fourth. No idea.
Well, this was the moments in the Puffs where like Hufflepuffs were so thrilled because they saw that and were like, "Oh, we're not in last anymore."
That's right. That's right.
Place.
Heck yeah!
So they took the liberty there to say that they were in last.
But even in this version, it says that both the Ravenclaws and the Hufflepuffs were ticked off at Harry because they thought somebody was going to beat the Slytherins, and you guys just ruined it. I do like the Slytherins' reactions. Something to note throughout, especially this book, on a previous episode, we were like, Malfoy is a jerk, but his insults can be good at times.
He is one of the best insulters ever.
Well, like, because half the time it's just garbage insults of him saying, "Oh, you're poor and you're orphan." But other times, like in one of the previous chapters, when he's making fun of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, saying they just let people in that they feel sorry for. And he goes, like, he feels bad. They feel bad for the Weasleys because they're poor. And then when Harry goes to die for the snitch, he's like, "Oh, look, Ron, Harry must have found some money on the ground for you." Ooh, that was a good pun.
I think he gets it from his dad too, because his dad is weirdly good at insults or like just saying fun little weird like nicknames for Harry too.
Yes. Great. And then, so I liked the Slytherins, on the other hand, clapped as he walked past them, whistling and cheering. "Thanks, Potter. We owe you one." Solid. Where am I in my notes? So Ron says, don't worry about it, bro. They'll forget about this in a while. Fred and George, who I am wanting to make it a thing to call them Gred and Forge.
That should be permanent. That should be absolutely permanent that you call them Gred and Forge.
They lost. He said Gred and Forge have lost tons of points before. And Harry goes, not 150 in one go. And Ron's like, true. That's true.
I also think that there needs to be like a bell curve on how many points you gain or lose. As a first year, you shouldn't be able to lose or gain more than 5 points or something like that. And like as a senior or as like a seventh year, you should be able to gain a ton of points for your team. Like bigger events, like sneaking at a school or like pulling a prank on someone should not make you lose 150 points for your house. That's ridiculous.
Because technically, it's not like they even left the grounds, at least as far as the teachers were concerned. They saw them on the premise. But I like that idea that only like as in relation to your year, there should be.
And I still feel like surely Fred and George or Gred and Forge have lost more than 50 points for something. Like if it's just pulling a prank on someone, they've definitely lost more than that.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how much they lost in, I won't say for what incident, but that book 5 moment. Wonder how much she took away. I do like this part where Harry makes an oath to never meddle in things that weren't his business from now on. I read that and I was like, I doubt it. And I like on the next page, it goes, his oath was tested. There's a good moment between Harry and Oliver Wood. Oh, I like because Harry says, he goes to Oliver Wood and he says, I'm just going to resign. I don't deserve this anymore. And Oliver Wood's response is a very good lesson. I like it. He goes, resign. How's that going to help anybody?
Yeah.
Like you need to do something to get those points back. You need to take responsibility. My wife and I are big anime fans. Nice. And this is like something we see in anime a lot when somebody goes like, I don't deserve to do this anymore. And somebody says, no, you got to take responsibility for your actions and earn it back or something like that. But nobody likes Hermione and Neville either, but they're not popular enough to be hated. So they're just ignored. And good news, John, they got studying to keep them busy because exams are getting close. So that's why they got to spend. That's what they got to spend most of their time doing, just studying.
My stomach in knots that like you don't even get to feel shame and agony because you have to study for finals. Ugh.
Couldn't focus at all. Then Harry's oath is put to the test. He hears old Quirrell being harassed by somebody in a classroom, and then Quirrell runs out of there, and Harry thinks that what's going on there, like maybe he needs to check it out, but then he goes, no, I made a promise to myself. Can't do this. So he gets on out of there, but he definitely thinks that Snape was up to no good.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the library he goes. He tells Ron and Hermione that Quirrell has finally given up the goods to Snape, and Hermione says, at least they're still Fluffy, though. Ron thinks Snape may have found a way around Fluffy. I said, I like this line about the light of adventure in Ron's eyes. Yes. So it says the light of adventure was kindling again in Ron's eyes, but Hermione answered before Harry could. And I just good Ron moment there. You know, it's like, maybe we could get into some shenanigans.
Yeah.
And something, so we have this exchange where, you know, Ron's wanting to do something and Hermione's like, no, Ron, bad. Like, sit down. We can't be doing that anymore. And I think Ron is way more excited and ready to do this because he didn't get caught. He's not the one that lost all the points. So in his head, he's like, it's not that big of a deal. We could do just a little more. They go, no, we've been there. Trust us. This sucks. The next morning, they get their notes for detention at 11 o'clock that night, which honestly seems like short notice for their detention. Like I would have thought maybe let them get some more sleep that day or something, but it's like, hey, 11 o'clock tonight, you got to go. 2
all-nighters in a row.
So anyway, that night they say goodbye to Ron and off they go with Neville to the entrance hall to meet with Filch and Malfoy. And Harry's like, oh yeah, he got in trouble too. Cool. Filch leads them down to Hagrid's hut. Read my notes right there. Hagrid's butt. Ew. And the whole way he's bemoaning how they let the old punishments die. He's like, we used to string up people by their wrists and all that. And I wanted to ask, do you think that's true? Like, do you think they actually did that, like Hogwarts Legacy time period, or even just a few years? Because Filch makes it sound like it's something he used to do.
Filch is one of the strangest characters I've ever encountered. He's so weird. I don't understand. Like, I don't think they used to do this, but I don't know. Then again, wizards used to vanish their own poop whenever they went to the bathroom, you know?
Poop
like
mountain.
there's like, I don't know. I've heard a weird theory on Filch that I kind of like, where he's like the antithesis of Peeves.
Yes,
like
he's a poltergeist.
Peeves, yeah, Peeves is like the poltergeist, but he takes on the mischief of the students, and there needed to be like a counterbalance to that, and that's Filch. I don't know if they have ever would they ever torture students like that? Like he keeps the chains well lubricated.
Justice.
Yeah. I know. I don't know. He's a weird character. He's so strange in this series.
I love that theory. It's like, I don't think it's true, but I want it to be true.
Yeah, same.
And the other one I heard that I really liked was, if you were to look at these books as if they're from the perspective of Harry and an 11-year-old boy, the progression of Filch makes sense, where he's this menacing, terrifying person when he's an 11-year-old boy. But as it continues, he turns into more of a joke, which would make sense as a little kid. You show up, you're like, adult figure, he's kind of scary. And then as time goes on, you're like, he's not even that big of a deal. He's kind of a goof.
Do anything, yeah. That's a good point.
So, I like when they show up to Hagrid's hut. Hagrid's just dunking on Filch. He's like, "Is that you, Filch? Hurry the heck up! Shut up! Quit talking to them!" And hand them over. Harry feels better that they'll be with Hagrid, but Filch says, "Not so fast, boy. You're going in the Forbidden Forest, and that place sucks." Malfoy says, "What you mean, the forest? There's werewolves in there." I like that line in the movie when Filch goes, "There's a lot worse than werewolves in there, boy."
And hold on, is this the first time that it's called the Forbidden Forest too? In the series, it's called the Dark Forest in the beginning, and the students are forbidden from going to the Dark Forest. And I think this might be the first time that it's actually called the Forbidden Forest.
Yeah, because
just like changed her mind.
I thought about that too, and I was like, "Is it actually?" And then I was like, "Wait a minute, the chapter is called the Forbidden Forest." So I guess they did change it, because I remember thinking in my head that. I think there's some forest in Lord of the Rings called the Dark Forest, which is Mirkwood.
Okay.
And I was like, wait a minute, I thought that was Harry. No, I always try to distinguish the two, but
they're connected.
They're connected.
And the
same universe.
Yeah, exactly.
You go deep enough into Mirkwood, you'll find Hogwarts, which makes sense.
It does.
So Filch literally says, "That sounds like a you problem," and he literally kind of says something like that. You shouldn't have gotten into trouble. Hagrid tells Filch to shut up and go. Filch says, "Fine, but I'll be back for what's left of them at dawn." Ooh. Malfoy says he ain't going into that forest. Harry says he can hear wuss in Malfoy's voice. But I like the exchange between Malfoy and Hagrid, where they make fun of this distinction, but I like the sense and the logic behind it. So let me find that part, because I skipped ahead, where Malfoy's complaining about, like, why on earth would we go into the forest? And Hagrid's like, or he said, "Should we be writing lines or something like that?" And Hagrid goes, "Why would we do that? You got to do something useful, actually." So I agree with that sentiment, that maybe a detention should be for something useful.
Yeah.
But definitely not this. So I think they both had points.
Yeah. I think like there's future detentions in the series that I actually don't think are the worst. Like, or not the worst. I think all of them kind of suck. Yeah. But like in the second book, Ron polishing all the trophies in the trophy room, like, that's practical. Like,
something useful.
Students doing work around the castle.
Harry having to sort the files for all
absolutely. Yeah, that's great. That works.
So Hagrid says, "Listen up, kiddos. We are going in there. You see that stuff on the ground? That's blood. Unicorn blood specifically. Something keeps killing them. So for detention, we're going to go in there and find out what it is." And I like this. He says, maybe even like put the unicorn out of its misery if we have to. And it made me think of this Larry the Cable Guy joke, where he says, again, Larry, country comedian for anybody in the world that doesn't know who Larry is, but he says, "So I got a horse with a broken leg, and I was told that when that happens, you're supposed to shoot it. Well, I don't know what good that did, because now I got a horse with a broken leg and a bullet wound." He's like, "That's not what you're supposed to."
It reminds me of the Napoleon Dynamite scene. Have you ever seen that?
I have. It's been so long now.
The farmer is like fiddling with his gun, and he's about to shoot this cow, and it doesn't work. And all of a sudden, a school bus pushes in front of the camera, and he shoots the cow, and all the kids are looking at the bus. They're like,
So that's what they're going to have to do in this scene. Hagrid says, "Don't worry, nothing will hurt you if you're with me or Fang." And I don't know if I believe that. especially after the Fang line. It's probably my favorite line in the first movie where they say like Malfoy's like, I got Fang.
I got Fang.
And he goes, all
He's
right.
a bloody coward.
So you know, bloody coward. They do the smart thing. Of course, they split up into two groups. Harry, Hermione, and Hagrid, also known as Triple H, and Draco, Neville, and Fang in their group, and off they go. And if you get into trouble, just send up some sparks. And it was two different kinds. Green sparks for like low-level problem. Red sparks for big problem. They walk around. They see some more blood. And we learn that a werewolf is not faster than a unicorn. Because they're like, would a werewolf have done it? And Hagrid's like, they ain't quick enough. Hagrid doesn't help in calming them down. Why did I write this? Because I think he's just like, oh, no, it's awful. He says, it's not easy to catch a unicorn. They're powerful magical creatures. Oh, here it is. They walked past a mossy tree stump. Harry could hear running water. There must be a stream somewhere close by. Da-da-da-da-da. You all right, Hermione? Hagrid whispered. Don't worry. It can't have got far at this if it's this badly hurt. And then we'll be able to get behind that tree. And he just shoves them away. It's like, bro, the leader needs to be the calmest person, you know? Like, I don't think so.
I feel like Hagrid generally is. I actually feel like he's calm and collected under pressure a lot of times. But this is something so novel and unique to Hagrid. That's why this chapter blows my mind, because from an adult reading this, as a kid, you're like, this is adventure, this is fun. As an adult, this is one of the most terrifying chapters, where these kids are going to these woods unannounced. Hagrid is freaking out. He doesn't know what to do. And then he sends kids on their own into the woods.
Yeah, sends two off with a dog.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Later, they come across a big old centaur, half man, half horse, for anybody who doesn't know. His name's Ronan. He and Hagrid chat, and he says, bro, were you going to shoot me? Like, and Hagrid's like, only if you gave me a reason to. Ronan's like, fair. Hagrid introduces them to the centaur. Ronan does his best old man impression, asks if they've learned anything up at the school. Are they teaching you anything up there? Hermione says, a little bit, and I like his reply. He goes, let me turn that page. She says, a bit, and he goes, well, a bit. That's something. and then what follows is probably the funniest moment in this chapter, where he looks up at the sky and he says, Mars is bright tonight. And Hagrid's like, okay, that's cool and all, but I wanted to ask you anything. Have you seen anything going on? And he's like, yeah, Mars is bright. He goes, well, have you seen anything unusual? And Ronan goes, it's unusually bright. And then later, and just after that, Bane shows up. Another centaur walks out next to him, says, hey, what's up, y'all? Walks up to where Ronan is, looks up at the sky himself, and he goes, Mars is bright tonight. And Hagrid's like, yeah, we've heard.
A comedy sketch. It's so good.
And Hagrid's like, all right, we'll just be going now. So off they go. Hagrid, Harry, and Hermione. They talk some about the centaurs, and they see some red sparks shoot up. Actually, Hermione saw them first, so good eye, Hermione. And then in a wild move, Hagrid just ditches them. He's like, y'all stay put. I know I said nothing could hurt you if me or Fang is here, but I'm just going to leave you by yourselves.
Yep,
he just
running
rolls.
off.
So he leaves the two of them standing there. Hermione asks if they think Neville and Malfoy have been hurt. Harry says he doesn't care as long as it's Malfoy. He's the one that got hurt. But I do like his awareness about Neville, though, because he says that like the only reason Neville is in here is because of us. Yeah. So I'd feel bad if it was us. After a while, Hagrid returns with the B squad, and he's ticked off. Apparently, Draco was being a little stinker, and he grabbed Neville from behind to try to scare him. Hagrid says, forget this, we're switching groups. And he trades Neville for Harry. He does call Malfoy an idiot, as all adult teachers should do. But technically he's not a teacher at this point. So
he's good.
He can call minors idiots all he wants. So the two 11-year-olds and the scared dog, the cowardly dog, Fang, the cowardly dog, go off into a dark forest, forbidden forest, whatever it is. They go off following a trail of blood to guide them. It's a fantastic setup.
The forest hides many secrets, he says.
That's right. You might think that this is bad, but the blood is getting thicker and showing up more, so they're giving a clear trail to follow. It makes it easy for them. And they're getting closer to the unicorn killer. Yay. Eventually, they come across the dead unicorn, and Harry was the one who found it. It's his good seeker skills right there. But it is a really sad scene where it says, it was the unicorn, all right, and it was dead. Harry had never seen anything so beautiful and sad. Its long, slender legs were stuck out at odd angles where it had fallen, and its mane was spread pearly white on the dark leaves. That is pretty, especially when they talk later about killing something so pure and harmless. It's a sad sight to see. But where are we in my notes? They come across the unicorn. They're about to walk towards it when some hooded, slithering figure appears and slithers on over to the unicorn and stoops down to drink its blood. Oh, he's just thirsty, that's all. And John, I know what you're thinking. This seems like a very dangerous situation for the kids. But the thing is that whatever that thing is hasn't noticed them. So if they just stay quiet, they should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, forget that, because Malfoy screams like a little girl and bolts off with Fang. The hooded figure looks up at this small disturbance, looks over at Harry and starts to move towards him. Harry can't move. He feels an awful pain coming from his scar on his forehead, falls on the ground, clutches his head. But something jumps over him and saves him just in time from the hooded figure and drives it off. After the pain subsides, Harry looks up and sees that it's a third centaur, younger than the ones before. How do you pronounce the name of this centaur? Ferenzi. Okay.
I'd say Ferenz.
Ferenz? Okay,
yeah.
There we go. I'm going to stick with Ferenz then. I'm trying to remember which one Jim Dale does.
I think he does Ferenz. I know that John Voth, have you ever listened to any of John Voth's readings?
Mm-mm.
So during COVID, he read it for the first time, but he read it out loud on Instagram. So people recorded his stuff, but he was a super popular reader.
I think I have heard that. I sent it to somebody to listen to.
Because of this name, he says that they're Italian. So he calls the centaurs. So anytime he speaks, he speaks with the Italian accent for centaurs.
Bane. So his name's Ferenzi, and he's like, yo, it's not safe in these streets. Just hop on my back and I'll get you up out of here. Just then, Bane and Ronan show up, and they're like, bro, you got a human on your back. Are you just a common mule? Apparently, this is an embarrassing thing for a centaur to do. Ferenz says, I don't care. This is the main character. We got to get him out of here. Bane's like, you haven't been telling him any of our secrets, have you? Centaurs, John, apparently aren't allowed to share their secrets, and they can't tell you or try to change the future at all. It's against the rules.
Be good therapists.
Right.
Actually, they'd be terrible therapists. They would just say, oh, Mars is bright tonight.
Yeah. Sounds like you deserve that. Friend says, screw that. I'm getting him out of here, so off they go. At one point, they stop and start talking about unicorn blood. Ferenz says that if you drink it, you'll survive even if you're an inch from death, but it will curse you and give you a half-life because you killed something so pure and defenseless to save yourself. And then Harry says something true and kind of wise here, where he's like, if that's the case, it sounds like if you're going to be that cursed, it sounds like death would be better. Something that Dumbledore preaches a good bit.
Yeah.
He's like, at that price, it sounds like death may be the way to go. And Harry and Ferenz says, yeah, you're right. Although I did think when Harry says, sounds like death would be better, I'm like, you good, Harry? You all right?
But I also think it shows, it shows his immense ability he's like this. It's not the first instance, but it's one of the biggest instances where he's different from Voldemort. Mm-hmm. And you don't know of all the character of Voldemort yet. You don't really know some of the stuff that's happening with him, but his extreme fears are completely different from Harry. And Harry can walk into this he doesn't fear death in the same way that Voldemort fears death. Like Harry, he's bummed that he has to leave people that he loves, but this is such a beautiful moment. I think this is so good where Harry's just he's not okay with it, but he's like, I'd rather choose death than live a half-life like this.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
I should have made a better note for that for the restricted section, but yeah, it's one of those first moments where we see that big difference, at least setting that up in Harry. Friend says, yep, death would be better unless you get your hands on something even more dope than that unicorn blood. Harry's like, what could that be? And Friend says, I don't know, maybe a cool stone hidden up in the castle. Harry's like, the Sorcerer's Stone. That's right, Harry. But who would want that? Friends goes, I don't know, Harry. Maybe somebody who's gone a while waiting to return, close to death, super evil. Anybody come to mind? And then Harry has brain blast. That's Voldy. Yes, Harry, you win Quizzitch. Just then, Hagrid and Hermione show up, and Friends is like, well, this is your stop. Harry gets off, tells Hagrid, oh yeah, dead unicorn back there. And Hagrid again leaves them, goes check it out. He's like, yep, that's dead unicorn. And that's the end of detention. Yay. They get back to the common room. And I like this. It says Ron's been waiting up for them. He was asleep. Yeah. He's a little tired though, so he fell asleep. Great Ron moment. And there's a lot of great Ron moments in the books.
Yeah, the books, not the movies.
The
books.
We'll talk about that. So Harry shakes the frick out of his good buddy Ron to wake him up. Get up, boy. They tell Ron what happened in the forest. Harry is dropping Voldy bombs left and right, and Ron is not happy about that. But Harry surmises that Snape is trying to get the stone not for himself, but for Voldemort. And the Centaurs don't like that Friends interfered because that goes against the pirate code of theirs. And messes with the future, all that stuff. Hermione's like, don't worry, bro. Dumbledore is around and can keep you safe from Voldemort, which is a good point. So, with all of it over, Harry goes to bed, but as he's getting under the blankies, he sees his invisibility cloak folded nice and neatly with a note on him saying, what, John?
You, for safekeeping.
Just in case.
Just in case. I forgot my own trivia question.
I know, you got it right. And with that, we reach the end of chapter 15. Yay. All right. So now we're going to hop on into our little fun sections at the end. John, what were some of your favorite lines? We can each say one and go back and forth until we run out. But what was a favorite line of yours?
This is one of my favorite lines in the entire series, but it's definitely... Hey.
He's just protecting the house.
I know. I got my own fang right here. One of my favorites in the... Yeah, I mean, you read the one before where it says, I want fangs, said Malfoy quickly, looking at Fang's long teeth. All right, but I warn you, he's a coward, said Hagrid. It's a great line. My dog's kind of the same. He's like, he plays a big game, but he's inwardly, he's a coward.
My dog is like, it's your version's kind of fun at times, and so is mine, but my dog is like he's a Dutch Shepherd. It's what the police use.
Nice. Yeah.
And so he's not a coward. And I remember I would chase him around my house in like a circle through the rooms. And it was one of the first times that just after he was a puppy that he was kind of big, and he would chase me. If I'd run, he'd chase after me. And my wife goes, what happens if you like chase him? And so I was like, I don't know. And so I like took a quick step towards him, and my buddy didn't hesitate. He lurched right at me like, you want to go?
He was ready.
Yeah. He's not scared of nothing. Cool. Anyway, yes, I like that line a lot too. I also liked in just the line about Hermione when it was the first time Hermione had ever failed to answer a teacher's question. She was staring at her slippers as still as a statue. And I think that really I don't know, it just shows some significance there of like this really affected her. The girl who's always so quick to answer and please a teacher. This is how ashamed she is and how hurt by this situation. You got another one?
Yeah, I also love the line. This is one of my favorites. I was saying this, and probably in the whole series, because it's just ominous. Always the innocent are the first victims, he said. So it has been for ages past, so it is now.
Yes.
I mean, like, you reread this first book and it just unlocks so much. It's like, it's a tragic line.
That isn't, I'm upset I didn't make note of that one. Yeah, that's a fantastic line. I read it earlier. I like the one about the light of adventure in Ron's eyes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then, only one who has nothing to lose and everything to gain would commit such a crime. The blood of a unicorn will keep you alive, even if you are an inch from death, but at a terrible price. That's the right. I did take note of it. Okay, that's the line. I was like, I did. Yes,
you got it.
Oh, there we go. It's not the one where it says all the innocent are the first to die, but it's the same type the same type of feeling. And then my last favorite one, where Friend says, "Good luck, Harry Potter. The planets have been read wrongly before now, even by centaurs. I hope this is one of those times." Just a nice little send-off for him. Did you have any other favorite lines?
No, you had all of them too. That was my last favorite line. So
very good. So Transfiguration section. So this is our part talking about changes that the movie made from the books. When I go back in and edit this, John, I think I'm going to have my sound effect be, when I introduce this, be 1, 2, 3, That's
a good one.
So, but again, new to podcasting, I need to look up like, is that allowed? Like, am I allowed to take clips and stuff like that?
If you alter them a little bit and they're short enough, you should be good.
Okay.
They will rarely ever get flagged on podcasts. You probably know because you stream, they'll get flagged a little bit more on YouTube or Twitch if you do something like that. But podcasts, you can get away with it. Yeah.
So anyway, Transfiguration section. So again, as always, especially in these earlier books, it's more so omissions than it is direct changes. But so in this one, in the book, it's a little bit drawn out before they go to their detention. You know, they get caught that night and then they go have a full day of class and then they go to detention. Actually, it's 2 full days of class and then they go to detention. In the movie, it's straight there. Like they get caught by Filch, you know, oh dear, we are in trouble. And then straight to detention they go. They also take out that scene of Quirrell in the classroom, like talking with Snape, you know, of like,
there's no like side. Yeah.
There's no little thing there. And then here is the biggest change though. It's Neville who goes into the forest in the book, whereas in the movie it's Ron who goes into the forest. And that's probably the biggest change. And really, like, again, aside from a bunch of different omissions and things missing, that's about the major changes I feel like that were in this chapter.
Yeah.
So then hopping into our golden snitches section, just little deep lore things somebody might have passed over. We have one, I noted the line, Mars is bright. And so like, what could that mean? Why is that significant? And so Mars, also known, you know, it's the Roman god of war, but it's also Ares. People probably more familiar with that name, the Greek god of war. And Mars being bright could mean that a fight is close at hand, that a big battle is close at hand. But also, when I was looking this up on like the Harry Potter wiki and reading things about it on Reddit, apparently, if you were to go back in time to Scotland at this like exact time of the year, Mars was not bright. So like historically, this is not true at all. Mars would not have been bright that night. So I thought that was really funny. The other golden snitch, I don't have a lot for this chapter, but the other one is the centaurs. They're from Greek mythology. In the Harry Potter world, they are native to, I thought this was funny, they're native to Greece, Great Britain, and Croatia. What a random combination.
They only do that. They vacation in Croatia.
Yeah.
That's wild.
They go to school in Great Britain.
Yeah,
and they're born in Greece. They're 7 feet tall on average. They're skilled in astronomy, healing magic, and divination. I thought this was interesting. They're classified as beasts by the Ministry of Magic, even though they possess, like, you know, human intelligence. But they're only classified as beasts at their own request.
Yeah, they wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't want to share the being status with hags, vampires, and other known dark creatures, because it's apparently all of the beings are dark creatures, or at least the majority of them. So there you go. That's our golden snitches section. That's about all I had for it. Okay, on to chapter 16, which is the longest chapter in this book, pretty sure. I remember, like, anytime I take notes, it usually takes me like 3 to 5 minutes per page to take notes. And I remember getting to this one, I was like, ooh, I'm going to just set some time aside for this one.
Yeah. This is a bruiser of a chapter.
So chapter 16, Through the Trapdoor. Just some quick overall thoughts. I love how good all 3 of them are in this chapter. Like, they all have great moments where they shine. You know, and in the movie, they all have great moments, or at least maybe singular moment. You know, Ron has his moment, but I don't think any of them are made to look bad in the book. In the movie, you know, like, Ron has his awful scaredy cat moment and things like that. But I like how just heroic and good of thinkers they are all in this chapter, especially Harry being such a good boy in this chapter, being so concerned for his friends and being heroic in that way. And we'll get to those.
This is one of those, especially this chapter especially, but in the entire series, in the movies, it's like Ron is just a dead body. He's like, it doesn't do anything. In the books, he's remarkable. He's one of the most underrated characters, I think, in the entire series.
Yes.
He contributes to this friend group so much. It's not like Hermione is doing 99% of the work and Harry's doing 1%. It's like all of them are split off pretty equally with like how well they help each other and even the tasks that they get through. It's great.
Yeah, they make note of it in this chapter. Something people always say is that like in the books, Hermione is not great under pressure and Harry is, and that's probably a key difference between the two of them. And Rod even comments on that in this chapter when he goes like, thankfully Harry's good under pressure. But let's hop into it. Exams fly by for Harry. Kind of doesn't know how he was able to get through all of them, which relatable. Although they never flew by for me, so that part's not relatable. They get to use cool anti-cheating quills. John, I gotta ask, were you a cheater on your? Did you ever cheat on a big exam?
When I was at college, they had some take-home exams that everyone can,
Everybody cheats on take-home exams. Yeah. I think the most egregious thing I ever did was I ended up becoming good at Spanish. But in college, the first semester of Spanish I took, we had to do a whole essay, write a whole essay in Spanish, but we were given the prompt. And so I pulled an all-nighter and did Google Translate every single line, wrote it out on a piece of paper, and we used our own paper for the exam. And so I had a stack of 10 pages and I would tuck in every once in a while one of the ones I had written at home. And so I would just be, when it was time to start, I would just write, take a paper over. When I would notice some other people had gotten to the next page on their essay, I was like, I think it's time I finished that page.
That's great. I love that.
It's the worst one I ever did. Don't do that, kids. Siento. See, I know Spanish.
See, it pays off dividends.
That's right.
Spanish.
That's right. Some of their tests include making a pineapple tap dance, turning a mouse into a snuff box, and making a forgetfulness potion. And I like that line where it said they tried to remember how to make a forgetfulness potion. So one thing I thought about, because earlier, we didn't know if it was a rat or a mouse into a snuff box. I wonder if that's one of the English to British translation things. Because when I listen to Jim Dale, there are certain moments that, he says a word, and the version of Harry Potter I have is the American version. Yeah. And I'll notice that certain lines are changed. The one that I can think of at the moment is when it talks about Hagrid's hands. In Jim Dale, it's as big as trash bin lids. And then in the American version, it's trash can lids. So
there's my favorite is it comes later in the series, but when Filch punts people across this water thing, it's like punting is the rowing that you do. So yeah, and then I think they just changed that to he oared them across or rowed them across the marsh.
I'll have to. What do you remember which book that is? What?
That's fifth book.
Fifth book. Okay.
Gorge and what is it?
Gred and Forge.
Gred and Forge. Transform this one corridor into something.
Yes.
Stuff.
Oh yeah, I know. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Filch's responsibility is to take
punt them across.
And to punt them across.
He's like the guy on the River Styx. What's his name? Exactly, Karen or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of we talked about that. Harry's having some bad scar pains. He's like, the others don't care about the stone as much as me, and that's probably why they're not as upset. They don't have a fun little reminder like this, which is probably true.
Yeah.
History of Magic is their last exam, and then they're done for a whole week. And I was wondering, what are they doing for that week? If that's the last exam, I feel like school should be over the next day. What do you mean a whole week?
That would be my favorite week ever.
Yeah, everybody's looking forward to that one.
You don't have to do anything, and you're just chilling with your friends and at school. I
just
love
hanging
that so much.
That is just playing Hogwarts Legacy IRL. Then they go chill outside under a certain famous tree next to the lake. The Weasley twins and Lee Jordan are just tickling the big old squid's tentacles, which is cute. They talk about Harry's scar hurting and whether or not Snape could get Hagrid to tell him the secret to get past Fluffy. Harry also sees an owl fly by. You'll notice that in a minute. They all think that there's no way Hagrid would let Dumbledore down. I have the quote here, 264. He says, Neville will play Quidditch for England before Hagrid lets Dumbledore down.
That's one of my favorite lines of this chapter. I love it.
And of course Hagrid would never let him down.
Yeah.
Unless... That's what they're all like. Unless
I would love to see in like a future iteration that Neville actually goes on to play Quidditch.
Yes.
Secretively, he was training so hard, and then he goes on and becomes this English phenom.
Just because he heard this, like one of those formative moments of childhood.
Yeah.
I like how every rapper says that their teacher didn't believe in them.
Yeah. This is like, have you ever watched Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech?
I have seen it. Yeah.
It's like him thanking all the people that doubted him. Neville gets up there for his Hall of Fame speech. He's like,
thanks for doubting me, Ron.
Thank you, Ron, for saying that I would play Quidditch for the English national team.
And I took that personally.
Yeah, exactly.
So Harry's like, yo, I got a bad feeling about this. Let's go talk to Hagrid. They find Haggy just shelling some peas outside of his hut. He's like, hiya. He's all happy. Want a drink? No, Hagrid, they're children. He's probably offering tea, though. Maybe.
There's a lot of underage drinking in this series.
There is. Harry is all business, though. And he says, nope, we need info. And they ask Hagrid about the dude that he got Norbert from. What did he look like? And this was interesting. I wanted to call this out because we made note of this in a previous chapter. It says that he was a Greek guy in the book. I think he was a Greek guy is what he says. And I was like, that's funny because I thought he said Irish person in the movie, but I think I just misunderstood. I watched the movie the other day. He definitely says I got it from an Irish fellow down at the pub.
Really?
And I was like, why is he Irish? Because it makes sense if he's Greek because it's like Fluffy is a Cerberus and all that. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if it makes sense. Anyway.
Why would they change that to Irish guy down at the pub? I guess because it's a pub, so Irish people drink at the pub.
Maybe.
It's a good catch.
They ask Hagrid about the dude they got Norbert from. Hagrid says, I don't know what he looked like. He was super sus and kept his hood up the whole time. You know, as you do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did y'all talk about? Oh, just the secret to get past my dog. Did you tell him? Yeah, I had to prove that I could handle a dragon. So, you know, if I could handle Fluffy, you know, it makes sense. And it does kind of make sense. But the kids get all upset at him and they run off, don't even bother finishing the conversation. And yeah, they aren't happy. They run off. The trio agrees that they need to go tell Daddy Dumbledore. They run into McGonagall. They tell her that they want to talk to Dumbledore. She's like, why? And Harry says it's a secret. And this makes her mad. I like it said, it's sort of a secret, he said, but he wished it once he hadn't because Professor McGonagall's nostrils flared. And I'm wondering, like, was she mad because of like the impudence of children to say something like that? Or is she mad because she's jealous? You know, she's like, you could tell me.
Yeah, she's not in on a secret.
Secrets are no fun unless you share with everyone. So this makes her mad. She says, well, y'all can't talk to him. He's gone. He got a letter from the ministry. And we saw that owl. She said, we got a letter from an owl just came, the urgent news from the ministry. And that was the same owl that Harriet saw earlier. She's like, anyway, whatever y'all kids wanted to talk about is probably no big deal. Harry says, oh, yeah? Well, it's about the Sorcerer's Stone. And she's like, oh, yeah, that is pretty important. But she reassures them that it's super well protected, and she walks away, and Harry's like, she don't know what she's talking about. Snape is going to steal the stone tonight. It's happening for sure. Mm-hmm. Snape pops up behind them and is like, hey, y'all talking about me? Makes me think what that scene in the second movie, Big and Harry, you wouldn't be talking about me, would you?
Yeah.
He's got an odd, twisted smile on his face. Not a good look, Snape. You got to try it. Like, the adults in this series are not good at not looking suspicious.
Learn how to smile every once in a while.
He tells them to go outside or people will think that they're up to something. Also, After he tells them to leave, just for good measure, he tells Harry, get back here. And he says, don't get into any more trouble or he'll make sure that Harry gets expelled. Anyway, goodbye. After that, they concoct this awesome plan that is foolproof in order to protect the stone. Hermione's to go and stand guard outside the staff room, watch a bunch of adults. And Harry and Ron will go stand guard outside the third floor corridor where they're not supposed to be. Great plan, but it's to me in my head, it's definitely an 11-year-old plan. Like, all right, you go stand guard over here. Go stand guard over here.
It's all about guard duty.
Yeah,
you watch that, I'll watch this, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, no idea what's going to happen if people actually do anything. Anyway, the plan's ruined almost immediately. McGonagall shows up, trashes the boys. I love this line where she says, I suppose you think you're harder to get past than a pack of enchantments. And she sends them off. And they get to the dorm and they're like, at least Hermione's guarding the staff room. Well, immediately Hermione comes in and she's like, I got sent away almost immediately too. Mm-hmm. Harry says, well then, that's that. They're like, what do you mean? And Harry says, we got to main character this and get the stone first. All jokes aside, when they say he's crazy, I think he makes a really good point about what will happen, if Voldemort gets the stone first. And it's also a good callback to something Hermione said. So, he's like, if Voldemort gets the stone, there won't be a Hogwarts to come back to, and we're going to die just later. We will definitely die. And that's worse than the school getting destroyed. And it's a good callback to when Hermione says, we'll all be killed or worse, expelled. So it's Harry being like, actually, the worst thing here is to die than for the school.
Because I love, this is one of my favorite lines. Maybe I should save this for later, but I love when he's talking about this and he's like, or after what McGonagall and Snape have said, you'll be expelled. And he goes, so what? Mm-hmm. Don't you understand? If Snape gets hold of the stone, Voldemort's coming back. Like, Harry has his priorities right. He's like, I don't care if I get expelled. Like, let's look at the grand scheme of things. Let's look at the big picture here. We don't want this guy coming back.
They say Harry has a point, and then they tell him that he ain't going alone. I'm going to get the stone. Of course you are. And we're coming with you. There's a nice reference for Lord of the Rings fans. He tries to protest, but Hermione's like, nah, bro, you need us. Harry says, but you'll be expelled. And I love this. She goes, bro, I got 112 on my exam. This place needs me for their averages. All right. They need me.
It is wild that she said that. Like, that is just like, she's like, I just, got 112 on my exam. There's no way they're going to expel me. I'm like, Hermione,
they ain't kicking me out
a
here.
little too highly of yourself.
I respect it. It's not prideful. It's recognizing what's facts. Stand on business. That night, they chill in the common room and wait for it to empty. And this was what was odd to me. It's known, and it's just nobody talks to them because, they're troublemakers and they lost 150 points. And so they're able to just sit there and people just sneak out or just go back to their rooms. But I thought it's well known that they got into trouble for sneaking out late. Yeah. I would have thought that some of the older classmen would have been like, we ain't going to bed till y'all go up to the rooms. Yeah, all right. Y'all got to go first, They
should be doing guard duty. Yeah.
That's what they should be guarded. And then also interesting, because it turns out Neville's still in the room and they didn't notice him for the same reason. Again, because nobody's really talking to him either because he was one of the ones that got in trouble. Uh-huh. So anyway, someone does try to stop them. It's good boy Neville. He says, y'all can't go out anymore. You'll lose more points and get into trouble. And when they try to tell him to move, he's like, y'all were the ones who told me to stand up to people. And it's a great Neville moment. Ron says, yes, stand up to people, but not us. They're about to throw hands and Harry goes, can you do something, Hermione? And Hermione steps in. It's like, y'all brought fists to a wand fight? Big mistake. But bam, and she hits Neville with the Petrificus Totalis, and he's all petrified, falls to the floor. And I like this. It says he falls flat on his face, and she goes over. I get she just, brutally assaulted this guy, but she's at least decent enough to turn him back over. Him
around so that he's
and she apologizes.
Weirdly, I think it's actually the opposite thing that you want to do in this case.
So he can't see?
Yeah. Well, so he can't see, but I think he'd choke on his tongue. Usually if someone's like going through something like that, you put them on their side so that they can't choke on their tongue or something like that.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like, because people say like you can drown in 2 inches of water if you're face down. Like, I don't know, maybe his nose is squished.
She's making sure the common room doesn't.
He won't drown that, or he won't. What are you talking about? Drowning in the common room? So anyway, she apologizes to him, and they say, "Sorry, bro, we got to go." So they put on the cloak, and off they sneak. They see Mrs. Norris, but they sneak right past her. Again, we have no idea if cats can see under invisibility cloaks. It's a theory.
Yeah.
I feel like this kind of proves that they don't, because it says she looks right at them, but she doesn't meow or do anything.
Yeah. I feel like it's animal instincts, like she can smell them or like sense them in some way, but she definitely can't see them.
He can still hear you. Then they come across Peeves, and Peeves says, hey, I know you're there. I might not be able to see you. Who is it? And I like this line where he says, "Are you ghouly or ghosty or wee student beastie?" And then Harry has this awesome idea where he pretends to be the Bloody Baron, and he tells Peeves that he better leave this place. So apparently, it convinces Phoebes.
He's the master impression.
Yeah, I was like, apparently Harry's voice has already gone through puberty because he can pull off the
a Bloody Baron.
And so, because Phoebe, why do I keep saying Phoebe? Yeah, I was thinking that. Peeves is convinced, and he heads on out of there. So they get to the 3rd floor corridor, and they find the door is already ajar. Dun, dun, dun. And that was wild to me, because if you're going to be sneaking around, why are you leaving the door open?
Yeah,
shut the door. Like, these adults are stupid.
Yep.
Ape really could have just closed it, if he was trying to be sneaky. Harry said, if y'all want to turn back, it's cool. But they tell him they're sticking by his side. Aw.
Mm-hmm.
They go inside and are greeted by a big old good boy Fluffy, and he's growling at them. And they see that Snape had left the harp, and that apparently that's what he had used to get past. Before Fluffy can do his job, though, Harry pulls out the flute that Hagrid gave him and plays a little hot cross buns. And Fluffy falls gently to sleep. Ron opens the trapdoor and says, "Who's going first? Because I don't see anything, so I'm not going first." And it's another good Harry moment. He points at himself while he's playing the flute. It's like a funny moment to me. And he points at himself saying he'll go first. And he gives the flute to Hermione. I don't know what she played, because my knowledge of flute songs runs out at hot cross buns. Mm-hmm. So who knows? Smoke on the Water. I don't know. She plays something. So Harry hops down in there, and it says flump in all caps. He lands on something kind of soft. He looks around and realizes he's sitting on some sort of plant. And then, this is funny, with no knowledge of what it is, he's like, "Yeah, it's fine. Come on down, y'all." Mm-hmm. So Ron hops on down, and then Hermione hops down, and they go, "Man, it's so lucky that we landed here." And Hermione, having been the last one that landed, she goes, "Lucky? Boy, no." She gets up. She goes, "Look what you're on." And
this is so unkid-like to me, too. Like, you just jump and drop something. Like, this happens weirdly often in this series. It's the first 2 books, especially when they're jumping on the no
Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, no spoilers. Yeah. But yeah, it's like you could just drop a rock down or something like that. Just test the depth of it. Why not?
Lumos.
Yeah.
What's that down there?
It's like a glow stick. Like, break your wand for a glow stick and then drop it down to see how far it goes down, and then go get it.
And I thought this was funny. It does say, Hermione goes, "We must be miles under the school." And I'm like, okay, miles. But Ron says, we're lucky to have landed on this. And Hermione goes, "No, we're not. This is Devil's Snare." And she gets up out of there, gets against the wall. Boys can't move, though. For anybody who doesn't know, Devil's Snare, this plant that traps its victims, curls around them and starts to, kill them. Pulls them in and kill them. And she got up quick enough to get out of there because she was the last one that fell, but the boys are stuck. Mm-hmm. And it's a really, really funny scene. It's one of the most iconic moments, I think, in the whole series when they're down in there. And she goes, "I'm trying to remember how to kill it." Harry says, "Hurry up, I can't breathe." And she's trying to remember whatever she can about Devil's Snare. She says, "It likes the dark and damp." Harry goes, "Light a fire." She goes, "Of course, but there's no wood." And then in all caps, Ron bellows, have you gone mad? Are you a witch or not? It's wonderful. Again, no spoilers. Great callback to that later, but it's just a fantastic moment.
Yep.
Love that. And she sends out those blue flames that she used earlier in the book, and gets them out of there. Harry said, lucky Hermione pays attention in herbology. And Ron goes, lucky you don't lose your head in a crisis. There's no wood, honestly. So love it. So after all that, they leave the plant room and go down a hallway. Harry thinks that he really doesn't want to run into any dragons because this is making him think of Gringotts. And I think that like JK was trying to make us think of dragons because right before they see what it really is in the next room, it says he hears wings.
Yeah.
But it's no dragon. It's a room full of flying little bird things. Maybe little glittering birds. They don't know what to do. And Harry acts brave. And I love this moment. He says, I'll go first just in case they attack. And like a really brave moment. He like takes a deep breath. And then it says he covers his head with his hands and just sprints across the room. And it's such like I picture SpongeBob taking the trash out to the dumpster.
Just screaming.
When you're a kid, you're turning the light out in one room.
I was gonna say, well, not only when you're a kid, I still do that as an adult. Turn the lights out, sprint up the stairs.
So that's Harry's trying to be cool. Doesn't come off that way, but he makes it to the other side of the room where the door is. The birds don't attack him. He's fine, but the door won't open. The other two go and join him. They're like, bro, you kind of were dramatic about that. Anyway, they can't even open the door with Alohomora. And it's then that Harry realizes that the birds, they're not birds because birds don't glitter. They're actually keys. He looks around and he sees some broomsticks and says, we got to catch the right key and use it to unlock the door. Another great Ron moment. He recognizes the kind of key they need to find. It says he's like looking at the key and he goes, it looks like we need like a big old fashioned key. So again, Ron pulling his weight. So they all grab a broomstick and off they go trying to get a key. Ron and Hermione have a tough go of it trying to get the key. Not so Harry. And I like this little humble brag that he does about the narrator says for Harry. Not for nothing, though. Harry was the youngest seeker in a century. He had a knack for spotting things other people didn't. I'm wondering, if, again, later in the series, there's somebody that secretly or that comes up to Harry and says, hey, I want to write a biography about you. I'm wondering now if these books are just the result of that. Maybe it actually happened one day and Harry's like dictating it to the guy of what happened. He goes, but I was the youngest Quidditch player in a century. So obviously I knew what I was doing.
I love when like books and literature do that. Like, because you mentioned this before, there's a section in actually in the Bible when there's a writer who's like writing a foot race that he had with someone else. And he's like the writer of this book. And he's like, and John beat Mark to the...
Yes, beat him to the tomb.
Yeah, I'm like, Harry's doing that right here. Harry's the one that's writing this down. He's like, and he was the youngest Quidditch player of a century.
No, the absolute best moment, I like Bible moment like that is in, I think it's Numbers or Deuteronomy. It says, now Moses was a humble man, the most humble man who ever lived. And I remember I was talking to my dad. I was like, oh, that's a cool line. And my dad goes, wait a minute. Didn't Moses write that book?
That.
So anyway, Harry ends up spotting the key that they need. And there's this wild moment. He goes, that's the key over there. And Ron's like, which one? I got it, bro. And he speeds off into the direction and just crashes into the ceiling. Mm-hmm. Nice try, Ron. But teamwork makes the dream work. And together they're all able to corner it. And Harry catches it, says he smooshes it against the wall. Ron and Hermione cheer. Good moment. They all land, put the key in, and it works. And off they go to the next room. In the next chamber, it's dark, but it lights up. Like all the torches light up as soon as, like when they step further in. And that's a cool effect.
Yeah.
They look around and realize they're on a chessboard. And Ron is like, oh, yeah, finally, my time to shine. Says they'll have to play their way across if they're going to make it to the next room. Ron is like, okay, don't take this the wrong way, y'all, but you're not good at chess. Harry says, I know, not offended. Just tell me what to do. It's like when you're being carried in a class project. It's like, listen, I understand. You just tell me what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So Ron tells them where they need to go. Harry takes the place of a bishop, and Hermione takes the place of a castle or a rook, depending on what you want to say.
Yeah.
It's okay, John. You got more right. You got more right. And Ron is a knight. As for me, I'll be a knight.
I always picture this scene too. Well, now I'm picturing it like, because you even mentioned this before, like the lighting effect.
Mm-hmm.
I always picture someone like there's someone in the rafters back there, like controlling everything, and they're like waiting for them to get to the next thing. And for this scene, I always pictured like Bobby Fischer or like Magnus Carlsen. I'm like curious what the level of difficulty is for this chess game. Or like, I'm sure Magnus Carlsen sitting up there going, oh, like, okay, what are these moves that I'm going to do? It's like speed chess. You got to tap on the thing to get to the next level.
How do I beat an 11-year-old?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but they're probably thinking, listen, I just got beat already, and that guy's evil. I know these kids are good. I'm going to let them win. I'll only kill one of them. Yeah. I can take one of them out. Listen, I just need to stop one person. So the game starts, and it's just like Wizard's chess. Yes, Hermione, I think this will be just like Wizard's chess. Anytime a piece is beaten, it's quite literally beaten and dragged off. Although, again,
was there a spare set of chess pieces?
I think, again, probably just Revelio, or not Revelio, Reparo. Heal it all.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'll comment more in Transfiguration section about this. But finally, after a while, we get to the iconic moment that is absolutely memeified now of like, not me, not Hermione, yo. But the lines are a little different. Doesn't actually go down that way. But Ron sacrifices himself so Harry can checkmate the king. He gives himself up to the queen. And she basically kills Ron. She says she, with her stone arm, just bashes him on the head. He should have died.
Concussion protocol, at least.
Yeah. I also want to know, like, what do Harry and Hermione do when they defeat Pete? Because they can't destroy them. You know, I imagine the piece just like walks off. Also, another little plot hole type thing, one of the only ones I found so far. It says the pieces can hear them. Like, because when Ron walks up, he says, I'll be the knight. The knight walks off. And each time they walk off, and then, they're dictating them around. When Ron tells Harry the plan, he's like, I'll be bait for the queen, and then you can check the king. It's like, the pieces just looking at each other like,
dang it.
They fooled us. Anyway, after Ron is brutally murdered, Harry walks up to the king and is like, gotcha. And the king gives Harry his crown and places it at his feet. And the chess pieces part way for them. They leave Ron in that room and they go to the next chamber. Hermione looks back, asks if Ron is alive, and Harry, straight business. He's like, he knew what he was getting into. What's next? The next room is the troll room. And I want to say, in a restricted section in the past, in one of the previous episodes, I thought it's kind of dumb that they kept this as a challenge because, again, 3 11-year-olds defeated a troll. So why would they have a troll remain one of the challenges? But my worries have been assuaged because it says that this troll was a lot bigger than the other troll. So it's like, don't worry, this one's a lot bigger.
And a lot of people think that the troll was getting smuggled in to get put into this chamber at that thing, but it wasn't, because this troll was significantly bigger than the other one. Unless, trolls grow really, really quickly. Although Halloween compared to right now, so maybe the troll was eating a huge, 20-course.
Engorgio. Just get that boy big.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just thought I did weird catch. But anyway, it's not a problem for them though, because the troll's already been knocked out. So they're just like, they yada yada through this room and they just stroll right past it onto the next chamber. In the next one, they find a table with 7 different potions on it. And when they get closer to the table, purple flames shoot up in the door behind them, and black flames shoot up in the door in front of them in order to go forward. Hermione sees a scroll on the table, reads it, and it's a big old riddle that basically tells them the sort of potions. It says some of them will kill them, one of them lets them go back, one lets them go forward, and 2 of them are just alcohol. Thought about making a joke of like, and the riddle basically says, 30 white horses stand on a red hill. So here's my question, John. When you read this, did you try to solve it without reading Hermione's explanation?
I don't think you can solve it unless you have an image of this thing. I think people have tried to solve it before, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think I was going through it. I remember I tried to solve it, but I couldn't.
Yeah, I remember I feel like in the past I definitely tried to solve it. This time around I was like, I'm taking notes. I got to keep it moving. But yeah, every time I see a riddle in a book, I'm always like,
yeah, absolutely. The fourth one,
I knew you were going to take this.
I remember sitting there for like an hour trying to figure this one out before I went to the next page.
So
and I don't think I figured it out.
I remember I kind of figured it out. I was like spider, but I was like, it's definitely like Dementor.
Yeah,
like I thought that would have been
it's the kiss. Yeah, you're like, this is clearly Dementor, but it's not.
She was like, it's famous that like she was having to rush through book 4 to meet a deadline, so she was just like phoning it in, like this will work.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hermione says, "Bro, it's easy. Just use logic." And I like this part here. When they're figuring it out, "Brilliant," said Hermione. "This isn't magic. It's logic, a puzzle. A lot of great wizards haven't got an ounce of logic. They'd be stuck in here forever." And Harry goes, "But so will we, won't we?" She's like, "No, I got this," and easily solves the riddle. Harry decides he will drink the potion to go forward and that she will drink the potion to go back so she can get Ron out of here. Hope she still has that flute, because it says, fly up and just take the brooms and fly up through the trap door, but you're going to be greeted by Fluffy. Hope you still got that flute. Hopefully you didn't break it when you landed on the stuff. But anyway, Harry says he may be able to hold Snape off till Dumbledore gets there, but even he's like, probably not though. And Hermione asks, "What if it's Voldemort?" Harry says, "I was lucky once. Maybe I'll be lucky again." And I like that he's just a little scamp in that moment. Like, I did it before, maybe. It reminds me of but I am the chosen one kind of moment. And Hermione gives him a big old hug and says some really nice things about him. I'm not going to read them now because they're definitely favorite line material.
Yeah. I was going to say, those are all my favorites.
Mm-hmm. And Harry makes sure that she drinks. This is good. He makes sure that she drinks her potion first and watches her leave. Very much like a, "Hey, text me when you get home" type of thing. Get on out safely. Harry takes his potion. Really hope that Hermione was right. And off he walks through the flames and into the final chamber / chapter. And it's boss fight time. But John, who does he see? It's not Snape. It's not Voldemort.
It was.
Oh, so that's the end of that chapter. And there we are.
Such a good twist to that chapter. Oh my gosh.
Yes. It still doesn't even say who it is yet. It's like, it's not Snape. It's not Voldemort. Who's it going to be? We don't know.
You got to cut my part out there when I said
that's all right.
I totally forgot.
That's okay. I'm really not expecting people to not know when they're listening, but just for the fun of it. Exactly. It's a fun bit.
It'd be fun to have like people reading. Like, I think a few people have done that with our podcast where they haven't read any of it and they're just reading through with us. So that's you want to keep that novelty for them. Yeah,
I get excited about the thought of it, but also whenever if anybody ever emails me or messages me and says, "Yeah, I'm reading along for the first time," I'm going to think, "That's awesome. Very cool. Glad you found me. Glad you're listening." But also, really? It's your first time?
Yeah.
Also, like, I could never do this of having to wait a week each chapter.
Yeah, it'd be agony.
I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. I remember I was listening to in one of your episodes, one of your wrap-up ones for the series, and you asked everybody, "Do you guys actually like Harry Potter? Like, do you like this story?" Again, it's always like kind of sad when they're not like, "Yeah, we freaking love it," but they were like, they go, "I mean, we enjoyed it enough. It was good." I remember one girl, I forget her name, but she said it was good. It was just like having to wait so long and draw it out. I feel like I would have liked it more if I could have just read through it.
Yeah, for sure. I agreed.
But anyway, here we go. End of the chapter. Favorite lines. Bounce back and forth. What's one of yours?
You said one of mine before, which is, "Have you gone mad, Ron Bellot? Are you a witch or not?" And like how that comes back in the end is so good. It's a fantastic line.
I said it already, but the Snape made them all nervous, breathing down their necks while they tried to remember how to make a forgetfulness potion. Irony. You got another one?
Yeah, even this one. I mean, every character has brilliant moments where they shine. In this one, Ron's the one that you read before. "I'll use the invisibility cloak," said Harry. "It's just lucky I got it back." And then Ron goes, "But will it cover all three of us?" Like, just automatically assuming that they're going with him. It's just like such a great line. And then all the nice things that Hermione says later, like they have such good moments where they can shine. These are such sentimental chapters for me. They're so good.
And then the line of McGonagall dunking on both Harry and Ron of like, I suppose you think you're harder to get past than a pack of enchantments. Like, what are you guys gonna do? You're not gonna do nothing. Well, McGonagall, you gonna see what they gonna do. Do you got another one?
Yeah, even the Neville line, which I love, where he goes, "I won't let you do it," he said, hurrying to stand in front of the portrait hole. I'll fight you. He took a step forward, and Neville dropped Trevor the Toad, who leapt out of sight. Go on, then. Try and hit me, said Neville, raising his fists. I'm ready.
I'm going to throw hands at you, boy.
Yeah.
I would say, I had one on 271. Oh, where Hermione says, Flitwick told me in secret that I got 112% on his exam. They're not throwing me out after that.
So confident.
Did you have another one?
My last one is just one of the last lines of the chapter where Harry took a deep breath and picked up the smallest bottle. He turned the face to flames. Here I come, he said, and he drained the little bottle in one gulp.
Heck yeah.
This guy's brave. I love it.
Mm-hmm. And then when he says to them, when they get to the third floor corridor, he says, if you want to go back, I won't blame you. You can take the cloak. I won't need it now. Again, just the line you said, this line here, and a few more of him just being it's the heroic nature of him shining through. Like, he cares for his friends. Like, yo, don't worry, I got this. This ain't your fight. I couldn't stand it if you got hurt.
He's a good friend.
And then I think I had just two. There were so many. Because again, longest chapter in the book.
So many good ones in this chapter.
Yeah, and then at the very end, Harry, you're a great wizard. You know, I'm not as good as you. Me, books and cleverness. There are more important things: friendship and bravery. Oh, Harry, be careful. And I like. It's a good lesson. I think, especially not only is it a good character moment for them, but also it's a little meta when speaking to the readers of books, saying like, hey, books are, and it's like earlier when he says it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. It's same type of idea of like, books are awesome, but what's more important are like the lessons that you learn from them and being able to live that out in the real world. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic stuff. All right. So then off next to our Transfigurations section, things change from book to movie. So again, lots of different.
There's a lot of ones here.
Mm-hmm. Lots of stuff with different obstacles regarding the stone. So for one, there's no flute when they show up. There's no.
I was actually curious about that. I'm curious in the series. Did they just go in not thinking they were going to do music in the series? Like, does Harry have a recorder in his hand when he walks in?
They don't have anything. They never mention anything about what their plan is when they go in. They see the harp in the movie. Like, it's not the book makes it sound like a hand lyre almost because it's laying on the ground. But in the movie, you see that harp on the side playing, and they're like, I guess we're good. You do see Hagrid playing a flute when they go see him before this.
He's playing the
Hedwig's theme.
Hedwig's theme, great.
But yeah, so that there's no flute there. Also, they make Ron look pretty bad in the Devil's Snare scene, ignoring Hermione and all that. Harry doesn't just fall through and Ron being the only one to be rescued.
Just panicking,
no,
freaking out.
He actually kind of like gets Hermione to get her act together in this scene. So it's kind of flipped pretty much. Also, in the movie, Harry gets on a broom and flies to get the key. In the book, all three of them get on there, get on brooms and fly around.
And the keys don't attack them also.
No, the keys don't chase them around. Again, I get why they did that for suspense and stuff. Yeah. The chessboard, during the chessboard scene, the chess game, there are pieces like missing from the board in the movie. So they just like, it's not necessarily that they fill because Ron chooses for them to take those spots. It's like those pieces are missing. So makes sense. Mm-hmm. Except Ron does hop on the knight. He's like, I'm gonna get up on this horse. And there is no troll fight or potions thing in the movie. They don't encounter the troll there. I guess because they probably thought it would be redundant because they're like, we already had a scene with a troll.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there's no potions thing with Snape again because that one also makes sense to me, probably because they're thinking we don't want to it doesn't make sense for Snape to have something protecting the stone if we're trying to convince people that he's the one that's after the stone.
Yeah. As a book nerd, they hurt me when they're not in there, but like when you're making a movie, this all makes sense to me for why they cut these things and why they included other stuff.
Mm-hmm. I will say though, other Transfiguration things are just omissions. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into the Golden Snitches section. But my first one I want to mention is with the potions. If you own a copy of the first DVD, you can go to the special features and go after the stone yourself. And you can solve riddles. You can guess which key it is. And in the special features section, there's the potion room. And you're given a riddle and you get to solve which potion gets you to the final room.
Now.
Right? So it's upsetting because you can't do that stuff on Max. You know, that's where we pretty much watch these movies now or whatever. But if you have I love special features of old DVDs and things like that.
I love that.
I remember in the Star Wars Episode 3 DVD, me and my mom left it on pause one time while we cleaned the house, and we hadn't touched it for 30 minutes. And when we came back, again, we hadn't done anything, but apparently it's this special thing, and you can't even find it on the special features. It's some weird combo, like a cheat code thing you got to enter into the DVD. But they animated this in the Episode 3 DVD. It's Yoda breakdancing with a bunch of stormtroopers around him, bobbing their heads in the Jedi Knight's temple. And he's just breakdancing, talking Master Yoda knows how to break it down. And it's we're where did this come from? And it's just a random
favorite things when they just met these CGI artists or these animators just are having fun.
Yeah. So for all those at home, go check that out if that's what you're into. Golden Snitches, though, for other ones for the chapter. Elfric the Eager, we hear about him at the beginning of the chapter during History of Magic. Elfric the Eager is a goblin who led a revolt against wizard kind. It doesn't make it clear that he's a goblin in here, but apparently if you play the Hogwarts Mystery video game, when it's talking about him, and it's like a phone mobile game, when it's talking about him, you see the book that's supposed to be about him. There's a goblin on the cover of it. And so people have assumed that one of the many goblin rebellions, Elfric was the leader of particular one. So that's Elfric for you. And then I made a note to read this when talking about the Hogshead Inn. So the Hogshead Inn, it's a worn out it's a inn that is in Hogsmeade, bar and inn over there. I've been to the one in the Wizarding World. It's awesome. Love it. But a worn out wooden sign hangs over the door advertising, it has a wild boar's severed head leaking blood onto white cloth around it. Great marketing. Mm-hmm. It's known for its cheapness, at least relative to the 3 broomsticks down the street. And according to Dumbledore, it attracts an interesting clientele. According to Hermione Granger, in Sites of Historical Sorcery, it was mentioned that an inn at Hogsmeade served as human headquarters for the 1612 Goblin Rebellion. So, but it's also unknown if it's the same one. Yeah, been around for a minute. So anyway, and then the last Golden Snitch I have for this chapter. Oh wait, no, it's the last one. The chess game that they do, people have recreated it based on where the pieces are in the movie. So not from the book, but if you look at the movie scene, these chess experts, the people you mentioned, people of that knowledge have gone in and have recreated how the game actually went. So if you want to go and look that up,
awesome.
That's there. That. And then just like that, we get to our final section, the restricted section. So before we hop in, everybody who doesn't want spoilers or things messed up for them, one, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and mention now, John has an awesome podcast that I love listening to. I know if you're listening to this, you'll probably like it as well. John, can you tell us about your podcast?
Yeah, it's just called Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Or right now it's called First Time Readers because we're expanding into Lord of the Rings and we're going to do some other stuff. But it was just a few friends of mine who had never read the series before. And we just walk through the series because I love to vicariously live through people who are experiencing things that I love for the first time. So they are going through it. I have a bunch of other people who we're going to get on for that podcast as well. So we have future seasons planned, and we're going through Lord of the Rings right now. I'm going through it with my niece, who's 11, and then is going to read the series over the next 7 years. So yeah, that's our podcast. It's fun. We just sit and talk about Harry Potter and nerd about it and experience it like it's like the first time again.
Heck yeah. It's absolutely wonderful. Check it out, everybody. It's on like all platforms, right? Like I've heard it on Spotify.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, Spotify, YouTube, all the main ones.
Fantastic. Well, all right. So now everybody who doesn't want spoilers, get on out of here. We're Forbidden Forest, third floor corridor, off limits to all those who do not want to die a most painful death. So with that said, hopping in, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about in the restricted section? If you want more time to think about it, I can just go through some of mine.
My head. You go first, and then I'll rip off of it.
Okay, so this one's a little later, but I wanted to say before I forget, Ron going after the key and just slamming into the wall made me think of like foreshadowing for Weasley as our king. I thought about that.
That's so good. I mean, you had mentioned this before, but one of my favorite lines in this one were, "Have you gone mad? Are you a witch or not?" And then how it's foreshadowed later when, like, almost one of the last chapters when Hermione's like, "Are you a wizard or not?" Like, she had been, because of their relationship, she had been storing that one up for years. I'm gonna get him. Well, I can't forget what I know that happens. I know it's like while they're trying to get to Snape, but like, do you remember why she says that to him? Like, it was the tree when they were trying to get into because it wasn't the row house, it was the Shrieking Shack. So they were trying to get into the tree, and you got to put the stick against you got to put the stick, and Ron's like, "Oh man, we need like a really long stick," and I think that's when she goes, "Are you a wizard or not? Like, what the heck?" And it's also funny because that's like the same spell she was teaching him in this first book, and with the alluding also to defeating the troll with picking up his club, and I didn't even think about that. That's cool. One of the ones I had, McGonagall. So like we said, McGonagall saying that she had never heard of anything like this before, of them sneaking out. And I'm like, you had the Marauders. There's no way you have not heard about people getting into this kind of trouble. This is pretty tame compared to some of the other, what they said that Snape almost died when because of a prank. You definitely heard about things this bad before. Much worse. Molly Weasley, all right, she snuck out with Mr. Weasley a few times. She's made that clear. Yep. Maybe she was just better about hiding it. I don't know. It's even in that chapter. I always, even the line that I was reading before, but always the innocent are the first victim. So it's been an age past. So it's now. That's such a good line because that's such like a key moment in the rest of the series. How like all the first people that die in this series, almost everyone who dies who's on the good side is just an innocent person who is like they're like the first key moment is really Cedric. He's like the first significant death in this series. And this kid's just like a student who just wants to compete in these games. And this line has so many reverberations throughout the whole thing. And the same thing with the planets, the bringer of war or the bringer of a battle. Like they're going to have a battle in between these two things. There's such good stuff in these chapters, such foreshadowing.
Yeah. And I hate the thing that I hate the most about the Cedric one is that like Harry did something good for him. Like it was, this is so we can both be winners. And then it ends up a good deed that had awful impact.
It's insane because I'm currently making a video about this right now, but the same thing with Sirius. Like he's genuinely doing a good thing for Sirius right before Sirius, dies because he thinks he's going to save him. But Harry's saving people complex tends to crush people a little bit more. Like one of my favorite little tidbits also is when he says this to Dobby, when he's like, "Just promise me one thing, never try to save my life again." And the one time that Dobby breaks that promise and tries to save his life, he dies. It's like
it's very sacrificial.
Yeah, I know, it's incredible, and that's why I love this series so much. There's like a ton of sacrificial moments in it. It just is such a good depiction of what love looks like. Even though Harry has his issues, his problems, he has a saving people complex, and unfortunately, the innocent are these victims.
But I'll say this. Yes, saving people complex, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I still think it's a net positive on people that are saved.
A net positive. I would rather have Harry in my corner than maybe anybody else in this entire series. Like, Harry is such a good friend.
I will say this, since I was going to save it for later, but since we're kind of on it right now, when the king takes off his crown and places it at Harry's feet, Again, I'm not a religious podcast or anything, but it is in Revelation. It's mentioned, the book of Revelation in the Bible, a scene of all these people who have epic rewards and stuff. They cast down their crowns at the feet of Jesus. And it's meant to be like I feel like this could be taken as a biblical allusion, because Harry is a Christ figure. Like he does, sacrifices himself for the sake of everybody, and he resurrects. He's a Christ figure. And so I was like, that might be a foreshadowing and an allusion to him being a Christ figure in the story.
That's so good. Yeah.
Now, some other things. Snape, I probably could have just said this in Golden Snitch, but he doesn't have expulsion power over Harry. He says that at that one point, I'll do whatever I have to make sure you're expelled. I'm like, wait a minute. In book 2, you wanted to expel them, but that's not your thing. Only McGonagall and Dumbledore can do that. I also like this moment where in the first chapter we did, the Forbidden Forest, when they switch up the groups, it's Harry for Neville. And that's like a big theme throughout the books of Harry in Neville's place, or Neville and Harry's place. Yeah.
Called Mary and Neville.
Yeah. But them trading places. And because again, the prophecy could have alluded to both of them. They're often pictured together or compared. And so if at one point, like here, they're traded place, they've traded places. I don't know. That seems a little significant to me in light of their relationship and how many similarities they have, and how easily their lives could have been traded if Voldemort had gone after Neville instead.
Yeah.
I think, and the last one that I have was that, there's a moment where Hermione just dunks on astrology and fortune telling. And she says that Professor McGonagall also says it's an imprecise branch of magic. And again, that just makes me think of book 3 and where she
battle with Sybil.
And Hermione hates divination, and even McGonagall trashes it and trashes Sybil to her face a few times.
Well, you might know because you listen to our podcast. I think she is right on every single prediction she makes, and I have qualifiers for how I think she's right. They're far-fetched and stuff like that, but I think she's completely right. But I love that McGonagall and her are such different people. They're the antithesis of each other. And I love here that Hermione is like a mini McGonagall. She is following in the footsteps of McGonagall. She thinks this stuff is stupid, and then it just comes back and shows you how much not that she was right, but how much she truly believed that. But the weird thing is everything in this chapter is pretty much right, which is the fun stuff. The stuff that's seen as ludicrous and crazy is right on the money.
Ends up coming to be true.
Yeah.
Mars was bright, maybe not historically, but the war was coming. That is still so funny to me that if people are like, actually though, it was not bright in Scotland that night. That's funny to me. Well, that's pretty much all the stuff I got for the restricted section. Did you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think you covered everything. That was great.
Well, fantastic.
Actually, the only thing, this isn't really a restricted section. This is one thing that I just find always funny, and that they always call the professors Professor McGonagall, or they never really use last names for anything. And I love that everyone just calls Hagrid. They don't call him Rubeus. They always call him Hagrid. And the professors call him Rubeus, or the professors call him Hagrid. Dumbledore makes it a point to call everyone by their first name, or professor, or whatever.
Except
Hagrid,
him.
It's just Hagrid. He's just like one of the boys. He's like a bro. I love it. It speaks to the character of Hagrid as well.
Yeah, the one friend in the group. Hey, Johnson, get over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love that.
Fun. Yeah, I never thought of that before. Very cool. Well, that's all I got. So I guess we'll wrap it up. Next week, we'll cover the very last chapter in this book. I think The Man with Two Faces. Is that? Yeah, The Man with Two Faces. Get into some good stuff there. And we'll also do a little wrap up of the book, talk about overall favorite moments and stuff. And then before we move on to book 2, we'll have a massive trivia episode. Bring back some of the guests and have Harry Potter Jeopardy for book 1. Looking forward to that. It's a little reprieve in between the two. But John, thank you so much for being on this. I'm very honored to have had you here again. Big time podcast boy. So cool that you could be here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your love of this book that made me not feel so different.
I love it. Thanks for having me. This is like the highlight of my life. I love talking about this stuff and nerding out about it. So thank you.
Very cool. Well, listeners, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Retold. Artwork for this podcast was created by Rachel Ortlip. Music was created by Taylor Jarvis. And the Retold podcast is produced by me. That's right. I made this.